Welcome, I'm Seema from Edufinite. In this video, I'll help you to understand all about descriptive adjectives and the degrees of adjectives, which will help you in your daily communication. Learning the proper use of various degrees of adjectives will help you to understand the English language better and improve your speaking and writing power once you master it. But before we begin, I would request you to give your valuable suggestions in the comment section. If you like the content, do give a thumbs up and share with your friends. Do consider subscribing to my channel and press the notification bell icon for future updates. I will be repeating the introduction of adjectives for those who are new to the channel. Those of you who have gone through my video on types of adjectives can skip this part and move on to the descriptive adjectives. Links to my other videos will be provided in the description box. Now, let us delve into the topic. Now, what is an adjective? An adjective is a word that describes or modifies the noun, that is the naming word in a sentence, or the pronoun, that is the word that substitutes a noun of that sentence. Now, for example, the little puppy was thirsty. Now, the word little tells us about the size of the puppy, and thirsty tells us about the state of the puppy. Like he was in the need of water. Next, she is tall and beautiful. Now we see that here the subject is pronoun. And the first sentence, the subject was puppy. That's a noun. And over here, she is the subject, which is the pronoun. And it is modified by two adjectives, tall and beautiful. It tells us how she is. She is tall as well as beautiful. Next, now we see that a sentence can have one or more than one adjective for the same noun or pronoun. Next, the placement of adjectives. Now, where is an adjective placed in a sentence? So you might be wondering, so let's see. While describing a noun, a regular descriptive adjective is usually placed before it. For example, Mary is an intelligent girl. Now over here, the word intelligent is the adjective which is describing the word or the noun girl. So it's just placed before the noun girl. So this is one of the position of the adjectives. Next, I can see the dark clouds in the sky. Here too, the adjective dark is placed before the noun clouds. Now, I have come to see the marvelous building. Here, the word marvelous is telling us more about the building. What type of building it is? It's a marvelous building. So, now here too, the position of the adjective is just before the noun it is describing. Now, the second place where it's placed. While describing a noun or a pronoun, that is the subject of the sentence, a predicative adjective is placed after the stative or linking verb. Now, for example, Mary, or if it's a pronoun, she, is intelligent. So here we see that the word intelligent over here is the adjective, but it is not placed beside the noun. It is placed after the stative verb is. So this is the second position where an adjective can be placed. Next, the clouds, or we can substitute it with pronoun they, are dark. So here too, the adjective dark is not beside the noun, but it is after the stative verb are. Now, the third one, the building, or instead of the building, we'll be using the pronoun it, is marvelous. So, the building is marvelous, or it is marvelous. So, here we see the word marvelous is the adjective which is placed after the stative verb is. Next, we'll know the details of what descriptive adjectives are. Now, a descriptive adjective is a word which describes or modifies the nouns or pronouns in a sentence. Now, what do they describe? They are used to describe different qualities of the noun or pronoun that is being modified, that is size, shape, taste, smell, texture, appearance, etc. So these are the things that a descriptive adjective describes about a noun or a pronoun of a sentence. Now, to understand better, let us look into some examples. Rachel bought an expensive car. So here, the word expensive is an adjective and it tells us more about the car. What type of the car is it? It is very expensive. That means you require a lot of money to buy the car. Next one. Harry is a handsome boy. Here, the word handsome is the adjective which is placed before the noun boy. It tells us how the boy is or how Harry is. He is handsome. That means he is good looking. Next, soccer is an exciting sport. So again, the adjective exciting is telling us about the sport. The sport is the noun here. What type of a sport is soccer? It is very exciting. That means when you see the soccer match, you get very excited to see how the game is going on, which side is winning. So the winning side is very excited, as well as the losing side is excited because they are losing their points. So the match is very exciting. Next, the degree of adjectives. Now, we'll know about the degree, the comparison, we'll know about it. How do we compare? The descriptive adjectives are also used to compare the attributes of one person, place, thing with another or maybe with a group. So we might compare a person with another person or a place with another place or a thing with another thing or maybe a thing with a group of things. Next, accordingly, there are 3 degrees of adjectives for comparison. So we have 3 degrees where we can compare one with the other, and let's see what they are. First is positive, next is comparative, so positive degree, comparative degree, and the last one is superlative or superlative degree. Now let us delve into each one of them to clearly understand them. Now we come to positive degree. Now what is positive degree? The positive degree of an adjective is the adjective in its simple form and just states the mere existence of some quality about which we are speaking. So this is the basic adjective which describes or modifies a noun. Next, the comparison can be made between 2 persons, places or things with the same quality. And we use positive degree of an adjective for such purposes. So if 2 things are of the same quality, then we can say that they both are same. So this way we can compare. It shouldn't be always that one is better than the other or one is less better than the other. It can be same. So we can compare 2 things when they are at par with each other. Next, to understand better, let us look into some examples. Harry is strong. Now this is a simple sentence stating that Harry has got a lot of strength. Next, Sam is equally strong. So what do we say? That Sam is another boy who is equally strong as Harry. That is what we are trying to mean. But we have 2 sentences for it. Now let's see how we can connect them. We can say either Harry is as strong as Sam because they both are equally strong. So we can say Harry is as strong as Sam. Or since they both are, strong equally, so we can also reverse and say, or Sam is as strong as Harry. Both the sentences have the same meaning because they are equally strong. Next, she is intelligent. So over here we have a pronoun she, which is the subject, and it is being modified by the word intelligent, which is the adjective. So she is intelligent. That is one of her qualities. Next, Mary is equally intelligent. So over here, what do we see? That Mary is another girl who is equally intelligent as she is. But we are saying it in two sentences. Now let's say it in one sentence and compare each with the other. First one, she is as intelligent as Mary. So here, with this sentence, as intelligent as, so she is as intelligent as Mary, that means what? That her intelligence is at level with that of Mary. Since they both are equally intelligent, we can reverse the sentence and say, Mary is as intelligent as her. Now we cannot use here she because she is the subject pronoun. We have to use the object pronoun here, which is her. Next. Now note a point. What is the point? For positive degree comparison, we use the phrase as plus the adjective plus as. So you've seen here in the cases where we have compared one with the other, since their level is the same or their quality is same. So for that reason, what phrase do we use to compare? We use as, then the basic adjective, that is the positive degree of the adjective, then again as. And we compare it in that manner, that is the positive degree of an adjective. Next, we come to comparative degree. Now, what is comparative degree? The comparative degree of an adjective denotes a higher degree of quality than the positive degree of adjective. So we have read about the positive degree. Now we see that the comparative degree of the adjective is a little higher than the positive degree. Now, the comparison can be made between two persons, places, or things with difference in their qualities, and the adjective used is said to be in comparative degree. So when there are two persons or two places or two things, but they are not equal. So what do we do when we compare? We have to compare, one is better than the other. So how do we compare? Let's see. For example, Harry is stronger than Sam. So we have two boys, one named Harry, the other named Sam. And here the strength of Harry is much more than that of Sam. There is a difference of quality between Harry and Sam. So Harry is stronger, Sam is not so strong. So for that reason, what do we say? How do we say? Harry is stronger than Sam. Next. But as we had reversed in the positive degree, because they were of equal strength or the quality were equal, so we could reverse it. But here there is a difference in quality. So if we reverse the sentence and say Sam is stronger than Harry, then the meaning changes absolutely, because we've already said that Harry is stronger than Sam. That means Sam is not stronger than Harry. So if we reverse the sentence just and say Sam is stronger than Harry, then that is absolutely wrong. We are contradicting our first statement. Now we can say the opposite. So here we can use an opposite of stronger and put Sam as the subject. So what can we say? Sam is weaker than Harry. Now these two then mean the same. Harry is stronger than Sam or Sam is weaker than Harry. Next. Now we can change this to positive degree by saying Sam is not as strong as Harry. Now this is changing comparative degree to positive degree. In comparative degree, what we said? Harry is stronger than Sam. So to say it, to have the same meaning, in positive degree, we can say Sam is not as strong as Harry. Now, the next one. Here we have pronoun as the subject. She is more intelligent than Mary. So here we are comparing two girls. One is the subject is she and the other is Mary, where she is more intelligent than Mary. Now, if we try to reverse the subject just, the meaning becomes opposite, which is just not correct. Like Mary is more intelligent than her. So here, this won't do. This is wrong. What we can say is Mary is less intelligent than her. Just the opposite of more. Just the opposite of more is less. So when we reverse the subject, we reverse the meaning too. So Mary is less intelligent than her. Next. Or we can say in positive degree, Mary is not as intelligent as her. Again, now note, for the comparative degree, we use the phrase adjective plus we add er plus than. So the adjective, the basic adjective which we had used in the positive degree, we attach an er to it. That becomes the adjective now for the comparative degree, and then we add the phrase than. That's how we make it comparative degree. Otherwise, there is another method where we add the word more and then the adjective in its basic form and then than. So more, adjective, and then than. Now next, let's go to superlative degree. Now what is superlative degree? The superlative degree of an adjective denotes the highest degree of quality than the positive degree of adjective. So positive degree was a basic quality. Now superlative is the highest. So than the positive degree. Next, the comparison can be among more than two persons, places, or things. So it has to be more than two persons. That means three or more. Or sets of things, or maybe to a set of things or group of things with difference in their quality. So there should be a difference in quality. They cannot be the same. And the used adjective is said to be in superlative degree. Now, for example, Harry is the strongest of all. Now, this word, Harry, is the strongest. That means we are specifying that he has the most strength of all among everybody. Next, Harry is the strongest boy in the class. So this is when we are comparing in a group. So in a class, a group of boys are there. Among those boys, Harry is the strongest of all. Next, for positive degree, we can convert it into positive degree by saying no other boy in the class, because no one else is stronger than Harry, because Harry is the strongest. So no other boy in the class is as strong as Harry. Next, now to convert it into comparative degree. No other boy in the class is stronger than Harry. So you see the change in the degree of adjective. For positive, we have the basic strong. For comparative, we have added er to it, so it's become stronger. And for superlative, we have added est to it to make it superlative, strongest. Next, Mary is the most intelligent of all. Now here too, we see the intelligence of Mary is extreme. She is most intelligent. That means no other person or no other girl is as intelligent as she is. So again, we can say when we are comparing in a group, Mary is the most intelligent girl in the family. When we say it in a positive degree, how can we say? No other girl in the family is as intelligent as Mary. Now, in the comparative form, we can say no other girl in the family is more intelligent than Mary. So what we see? The basic form for positive degree, intelligent. For comparative form, we use more intelligent, and for superlative form, we use most intelligent. Now, note, for superlative degree comparison, we use the phrase, what do we use? We always have to say the, we have to include the, then the adjective with est, basic adjective added with est, and then we add in, when we say in the class or in the family, or of all or of all the boys, or the, most, plus adjective in its basic form, plus in or of as before. So this is the other form. Now let's check the formation of comparative and superlative degrees of adjectives. How are they formed? Rule 1. Most of one syllable and some of more than one syllable positive degree adjectives form their corresponding comparative degree adjective by adding er to it. So the positive degree, to convert it into comparative degree, we just have to add er to it, and their corresponding superlative degree by adding est to it. So it will be converted to superlative degree by adding est behind the positive degree. Now let's look at some of the words. For example, old, that's in the positive degree. What do we do to convert it into comparative degree? We add er to it. So older, it becomes older. Next, to convert it into superlative degree, with old we have to add est. So old becomes oldest. Next, tall. Similarly, tall, we adding er to it to make it comparative, taller, and we add est to it to make it tallest, which is the superlative degree. Similarly, all the words hard becomes harder and hardest, high, higher, highest, sweet becomes sweeter and sweetest, short becomes shorter and shortest, and young becomes younger and youngest as comparative and superlative degrees. Now we come to rule number 2. When the positive degree adjectives end in E, we form their corresponding comparative degree adjectives by adding only R to it. So already in the word E is there. So no need of adding ER to it, because first we learned we have to add ER to it. But since the word ends with E, so no point adding another E to it, we just add the R to it to make it comparative degree adjective. And their corresponding superlative degree adjectives by adding only st to it. So again the same thing, since the word ends with E, so what do? We don't have to add es to it according to our first rule. We'll just add st because E is already there, so just add st to it to make it into superlative degree of adjective. Now let's look into the examples. So positive degree is brave. Just as we see, brave ends with E, B-R-A-V-E. So the ending is with E. So we have to just add R to it to make it comparative. We don't add ER, we just add R to it to make it comparative degree. So it becomes braver. And to make it superlative degree, already E is there at its end. So we just add ST to it and make it bravest. So brave, braver, bravest. Similarly, all of them follow the same rule. Just add R for their comparative degrees and ST for their superlative degrees. So fine becomes finer, finest. Large becomes larger, largest. Able becomes abler, ablest. Noble becomes nobler and noblest. White becomes whiter and whitest. Similarly, wise, since it ends with E, just add R to it to make it wiser, which is comparative degree, and st to it to make it superlative, which is it becomes wisest. So I hope you have understood till now. And the next one, rule 3. Now what is rule 3? When the positive degree adjectives end in Y. So when they end with Y, now we have done E, now we are doing Y. When they end with Y, we form their corresponding comparative degrees by changing the Y to I before adding ER to it. So to make it comparative, just as we do to make nouns into their plural forms, you can check my videos on nouns where I have already explained all this. It's the same rules that is applicable. So if the word ends with Y, we remove the Y, add I to it, and then add ER. ER is for comparative, but Y, if the word ends with Y, we cannot let it remain like that. We'll have to remove that Y, add an I to it, and then add ER to make it comparative. And similarly, for their corresponding superlative degree adjectives, by changing Y to I before adding only EST to it. So what do? We add we take that word ending with Y, remove the Y, add an I to it instead of that Y, and then add est. So that's how we get the superlative degree. Now let's look into some of the examples. Now positive, easy. So we see here, it ends with Y, E-A-S-Y, so Y. Now to make it comparative, what have we learned? Remove the Y. So E-A-S, add I, so E-A-S-I, then add E-R, so easier. That's how it's done. Next, for the superlative degree again, similarly, you remove E-A-S-Y, remove that Y, add I, so it becomes E-A-S-I. Now you add the E-S-T, so it becomes easiest. So that's how the superlative degree is formed for each of the words ending with Y. Similarly, busy, remove Y, add I, add ER to make it comparative, busier. And in superlative, remove the Y, add I, and then add EST to make it busiest as superlative degree. So similarly, dry becomes drier, I-E-R, driest, I-E-S-T, happy becomes happier, and then superlative becomes happiest, heavy, heavier, heaviest, merry, merrier, merriest, wealthy, wealthier, wealthiest. So I hope you've understood that how we change from positive to comparative and then to superlative. For the words that end with Y, we remove the Y, add I, and then to make it comparative, we add ER, or to make it superlative, we add EST. Next is rule number 4. When the positive degree adjectives are words of one syllable and end in single consonant. So remember these points. They are one syllable, that is monosyllabic word. And what they do, they end in a single consonant preceded by a short vowel. So there'll be consonant, just one consonant letter at its end, and just before the consonant it will be preceded. That means just before the consonant will be a vowel. So a vowel and then a consonant. That's how the word will end. Monosyllabic word. Then the last consonant is doubled before adding ER to its comparative degree and EST to its superlative degree. So how do we make its comparative degree? Before adding ER, because we know by adding ER we make it superlative, but before that we have to do some work in it. What do we do? Suppose it ends with a letter which is consonant, we'll double that letter and then add ER to it to make it consonant. And for superlative, similarly, we'll again double that letter and then add EST. Now let's look into some examples to understand it better. See, positive degree, hot, H-O-T. So according to a rule, it ends with T, just one consonant. O precedes that consonant T. So that's a vowel. So O is a vowel preceding the last consonant T. Now what did we say? To make it comparative, before adding ER, we'll have to double the consonant. So T is the consonant, we'll have to double it. That means it will become TT. So comparative degree becomes hotter, H-O-T-T-E-R. Next, superlative, what did we say? We'll double the consonant and then add EST. So it becomes H-O-T-T-E-S-T, hottest. Similarly, big ends with G and just before it is the consonant I. So G will become double. So for comparative degree, it will become bigger, B-I-G-G-E-R. And for superlative degree, it will become biggest, B-I-G-G-E-S-T. Similarly, all will follow. Fat becomes fatter and fattest. Mad becomes madder, maddest. Red becomes redder, reddest. Just notice that in each case, in each comparative and superlative cases, we are just doubling the ending consonant. That means we are just writing it twice. Thin becomes thinner, T-H-I-N-N-E-R. Then thinnest, T-H-I-N-N-E-S-T. Similarly, sad becomes sadder, again double D. And then superlative is saddest, again double D. Now rule number 5. What is it? When the positive degree adjectives are words of more than 2 syllables, we then form their comparative degree by putting more and superlative degree by putting most before their positive form. So what do? Here? We don't add ER or EST to the positive degree to make them comparative and superlative degrees. Here, when it's 2 syllables or more than 2 syllables, what we are doing? We are adding most for superlative degree and more for comparative degree. So let's look into some of the examples. Now, beautiful, more beautiful for comparative, as I said earlier, and most beautiful for superlative. Active, more active, comparative, most active, superlative. Courageous, more courageous, most courageous. Difficult, more difficult, most difficult. Important, more important, most important. Industrious, more industrious, most industrious. Now, rule 6. When the positive degree adjectives are words of 2 syllables with suffixes full, like careful, that means the ending, it will be full. Or less, careless, example. Ing, caring, example. Ed, that means cared, etc. Then they form their comparative degree by putting more and superlative degree by putting most before their positive form. So just as we did earlier about 2 or more syllables, forming comparative degree and superlative degree by putting more and most before them, similarly the same goes with these two. Let's look into their examples. Careful, here again we are full. More careful, most careful. Next, less, careless, more careless, most careless. Ing, that is caring, more caring, most caring. Ed, cared, more cared, most cared. Annoyed, so that is a positive degree ending with ed. So it becomes comparative by adding more to it, more annoyed, and superlative by adding most to it, most annoyed. Next, confusing, more confusing and most confusing. Next, rule 7. Some of the positive degree adjectives take either er and est at the end or more and most before them to form the comparative and superlative degrees respectively. So some of the positive degrees, what they do is they follow the 2 rules together. Sometimes you can add er to its end and make it comparative, or we can just add more to it and let the basic form remain. So that way also they become comparative. And for superlative, we can add est to it. That way they become superlative, or we let it remain in the basic form and add before it the word most. So now let's look into some of those words. They are like clever, cruel, common, feeble, gentle, handsome, narrow, pleasant, stupid, etc. Now, for example, Sita is gentler than her brother. We can say it this way, or we can say Sita is more gentle than her brother. So both the ways are correct for this particular word, gentle. Next, Mary is the gentlest of them all. So this is a superlative degree. This is correct. Again, the other way, Mary is the most gentle of them all. So this is also correct. This is the superlative degree. Next, for the word clever, he is cleverer than his partner. So we are adding er to it at its end. So this is becoming comparative. Again, the other comparative, we can make it that way also by adding more to it. So he is more clever than his partner. So that is also correct. Next, the superlative degree. He is the cleverest man in the family. So we are adding est at its end. Now, we can also say the other way around. He is the most clever man in his family. So that is also correct. Rule 8. Some of the positive degree adjectives are compared irregularly, so their comparative degree and superlative degree respectively are not formed from their positive degree. So let's look into some of the examples to understand it better. Now, the positive degree is good. Its comparative degree is better. and its superlative degree is best. So we see that good has no connection with better or best. All are different. Next, bad, evil, or ill. These three positive degree adjectives have their comparative as worse and superlative as worst. So again we see that each of these have no connection with one another. Next, little or less as positive degree has its comparative degree as lesser and superlative as least. Next, many or much as positive. Many is for numbers and much is for quantity. Their comparative is common, more. The comparative is more. And the superlative is also common as most. Next, late as positive degree has two comparative degrees. One is later and the other is latter. Similarly, it has two superlative degrees. One is latest, the other is last. Now, old as positive degree has two comparative degrees. One is older, the other is elder. And two superlative degrees. One is oldest and the other is eldest. Similarly, far has two comparative degree. One is farther and the other is further. Two superlative degrees. One is farthest and the other is furthest. Now, these double forms which you have done just now, these double forms of comparative and superlative degrees, let's just look into the double forms of the comparative and superlative of adjectives under Rule 8 and understand how they are used in different ways. Now, elder or older as comparative, elder and older, these two are comparative, but elder usually refers to persons in the family only, whereas older refers to both persons and things. Next, eldest and oldest as superlative. Here again, eldest refers to usually persons in families only and oldest refers to both person and things. Now let's look into some examples to understand it better. She is my elder sister. So here, elder is a comparative degree and over here it's among the family. In my family, she is my elder sister. That means she's elder to me. Millie is elder than her brother. So there again, this comparison, Millie and her brother. So Millie is elder than her brother. Next, Mary is the eldest sister. So among her sister, Mary is the eldest. That means her age is the most. Next, he is his eldest son. So among his son, he is the eldest. Next, now we are taking older into consideration, which can mean both things as well as persons. This tree is older than that. So the age of this tree is much more than that of the other. Next, he is older than his cousin. Now we can use it for persons also. So he is older, his age is much more than his cousin. Next, now these two were comparatives. Now we are coming to superlatives. Oldest. This is the oldest tree in this park. So the age of this tree in this park is the most. Next, Ravi is the oldest boy in his class. So in his class, the age of Ravi is the most. So Ravi is the oldest boy in his class. Next, later, latter. These two are again comparative, and latest and last. These two are superlative. Now, later and latest refers to time, whereas latter and last refers to position. Now let's look into some sentences to understand it. He came later than I expected. So here again it's referring to time, because the time I had expected him to come, he came much after that. Now the next one. This edition is later than that. So this edition of the book has been published much later than that one. What is the latest update of her health? Now this is the superlative form. So latest update means here, what is the latest news about her health? I will buy the latest edition of the test papers. So the test papers that are out in the market, I'll go and check the one that has been printed the last. That means that is the latest. So I'll buy that one. So later and latest, they refer to time. Next, we come to latter, which is again comparative. The latter part of the story is not so good. So the latter part means the last half of the story. So the latter part of the story is not good. So it refers to the position. Next, Meeta and Rita are sisters. The latter is stronger. Here we are talking about two sisters, Meeta and Rita. Now Rita is the latter one. That means the one whom I have referred last of all. So Rita is latter. She is stronger. So this is again, we are talking about the position. He was the last person to leave the hall. Now this is superlative form. This again refers to position because among all the persons who have left the hall, he was the last to leave. Next, theirs is the last house in that lane. So again, this refers to the position that in that lane, their house is at the end. So it's the last house. Now, next we have farther and further as comparative and farthest and furthest as superlative. Now, farther and further, both are used to express distance. And farthest is used to express distance only, while furthest is used to describe to a greatest degree. Now, let's look into the sentences to understand them. How much farther do we have to travel from here? So, how much distance more do we have to travel from here? We stay farther away from the main city than my cousins. So, from the main city, our distance is much more than that of my cousin's house. Lengthen the project further to be competitive. So, you have made a project of certain length. Now, I'm asking you to lengthen it further. That means to make it more lengthy, to be competitive. As he moved further, he saw his son. So, as he moved more ahead, he saw his son. Now, we come to the superlative degrees. Pluto is the farthest planet from the sun. So in the solar system, the sun is at the center and the Pluto is farthest. That means the distance between sun and the Pluto is the most among all the planets. What is the farthest distance you have covered while jogging? So you go out jogging, you cover certain distance. What is the most distance that you have covered? In this expedition, we will go to the furthest end of the earth. So, we are undertaking an expedition in which we'll go to the furthest end. That means till almost the end of the earth. The next sentence. Boys, let's see who can run the furthest. So, let's see who will cover the greatest distance. I won't be including the revision quiz in this video as it has become quite long. I'll make a separate video for the quiz on the adjectives for your convenience. Thank you for being there with me. Hope you liked this session. Do like and share with your friends. Bye. Take care. Stay safe. See you in the next episode.